Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ty Davis. I'm a technical marketing manager here at GitLab. Today I'm going to be talking to you about agile project management using GitLab. We'll also be touching a little bit on SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework, and how you can set up a structure if your organization is looking to align themselves with the SAFe framework. We'll touch on a few slides here first before getting into the demo, and then once we get into the demo, we'll start looking at how we've built out an agile structure with our mock organization, Healthcare Provider Incorporated. When we take a look at the structure of GitLab, we have groups and projects. Groups will be at the highest level, so you can look at a group as you'll have one group as the parent group or the umbrella group, and then there'll be subgroups that can fall underneath that. There could be subgroups under those subgroups, but when we're looking to do Agile at this top layer, at this group level, we have the ability to have access to epics, milestones, which is a time box in GitLab terminology. So you could build out sprints, you could build out releases using the milestones feature. There's a roadmap, which can show you a compilation of all the epics and the timelines associated with them. And then you have the ability to create labels, boards, and projects that fall underneath those groups or subgroups. So we see here when we're talking projects, project resides within that group level or layer. That project, there could be a project associated with one group, and then there could be a subgroup underneath that group, and that can have its own projects as well. So inside of a project, you see that there's your Git repository. Issues and discussion can happen at that project level. Labels are also built into that project, so you can have specific labels for that project where maybe that team is using identifiable or a specific naming convention for those labels. And they can build out their own boards as well, create milestones, which may maybe associate that with a sprint or doing Scrum, or just a release, a start and an end date. And then as well, you have cycle analytics that can give you insight on that project. When we're talking Agile and the way that GitLab has its names for what we've built inside of our tool, we call issues, or we call user stories issues, or for people that are familiar with issues already, you could just keep moving along with issues. But some people are familiar with user stories. We call that an issue. Again, reiterating what I said earlier about milestones, this is something that you can build out a time box. In this particular case, for if we're doing Scrum, we built out sprints using that milestone capability. So within that project, you have a repository. The repository is a very powerful capability as part of GitLab. It's something that we're very well known for. Inside that repository, you have the ability to do merge requests. You can make changes. You can have reviews and discussions around those MRs. You can do approvals. You have visibility into your CI/CD pipeline. So if we're looking to have visibility along the end-to-end DevOps, we can see the status of code change when it comes to quality, when it comes to security, when it comes to performance. You have that capability inside of the repository, and specifically with merge request and identifying pipelines that associate with that merge request. You also have the ability to do a review app. So once you've added that code, you can review the app before it goes live to production. And like I mentioned, you have security scans that give full reports back on any vulnerabilities that are detected, whether they're like medium or severe. You'll have that review and report given to you around that merge request. When we look at GitLab and Scaled Agile Framework, if your organization is looking to move towards SAFe, you are going to be able to align via what we just talked about, the groups and the projects. How we look at it is for that, maybe that if we're looking at portfolio SAFe and we're looking at that portfolio level, that high group, that top parent group or umbrella group is going to be at the portfolio level. There's going to be a subgroup that aligns with a value stream, and then a second subgroup that aligns with a program. And then we could see that there's possibly, depending on how large the agile teams are that are contributing towards that agile release train, there could be a third subgroup if it's just a couple of Scrum teams that are all added together that contribute to an agile team as a whole that's contributing towards that agile release team. But a lot of that work is going to be done at the project level. We could see here, that's where we consider the team level. That's where you're going to create many boards, issues, user stories are going to be created in there, and that's where we're going to have a lot of our dev work and testing done. Breaking it down a little bit more, we look at that portfolio level. So we're looking at that top group level. Maybe it's an application that's part of an organization. Maybe it's the whole organization that's at that group level. And we'll see in the demo here, the healthcare provider. It's a smaller healthcare provider organization, but the enterprise is represented at that portfolio level, and they're going to build out value streams that align with where they want their healthcare organization to be headed towards. So when we look at the portfolio level and doing safe, we create those portfolio epics at that group level. We create labels. The way we look at strategic themes is that when your business leaders are deciding what are the strategic themes that are going to drive this organization, that's going to be done via group labels. So in the case of this healthcare organization, maybe it's satisfied patients, satisfied employees, modernizing technology, or being innovative. They're going to create those strategic themes via labels. And then when we create those portfolio epics, we're going to tag those strategic themes that align with that portfolio epic. You can create a project on that that portfolio group level so that you could create maybe non-functional user stories issues. There could be discussion around those. That's going to drive that backlog. That's going to drive the epics that we are moving into progress at that portfolio level. A subgroup will be created at this portfolio level that's going to align with a value stream. We'll see again in the demo. There's 6 value streams that the business leaders decided would drive the organization, and those are created in subgroups. So looking at that subgroup, that value stream, you have milestones. We talked about time box, which you can set the dates and time, start and end dates for that solution train that could be tracked via milestone. Labels as well, anything that aligns with that value stream. You'll create the labels that align with that. We'll see how that's done once we get into the demo here. Again, there's you can always have a project at a group level. It's not isolated to the lowest subgroup. It could be at different levels. It could be at the highest group level, so a group of that. Create project, and what this does is it allows you to have a board that is specific to that group level. That will, if we have that portfolio board, now we have this value stream board. Maybe moving into that program level, you can have your Kanban board there, moving features and enablers along that have been broken down from those portfolio epics. And we can see that here at the program level. There's subgroups that are banking off of those value streams. These are made up of a series of agile teams that are contributing towards an agile release train. Maybe several Scrum teams that make up for that agile team that are all working together to push releases out at a regular and frequent cadence on that agile release train. Pushing out working software, making sure that they all work together. Something that can be done at that subgroup level, where we have an agile team as a whole that may have another subgroup of Scrum teams that are contributing towards making that agile release train go. Now we get to the team layer of SAFe. This is where we're going to have probably significant more amount of projects that are specific towards dev and testing. This is where your functional items are going to be worked on. You're going to have issues and discussion here. You're going to have many issues specific around functionality, building out code. And this is where we're going to compile that all here at the project level. We'll be able to do backlog management. We'll be able to do our PI planning. Actually, we'll do our PI planning at the program level. And this is where from that PI planning, we'll take our PI objectives, break those down into issues, and then start working on those issues. You have visibility into the boards when it comes to seeing what's in progress, what's being worked on, what's done. You can create team boards saying who's working on what. You can create that PI objective board and start assigning issues to sprints, or doing our sprint planning, or taking it from the product backlog, moving it to the appropriate sprint, and then doing that assignment of issues to that sprint, where either if you have a self-organizing team, they can pull those issues off, they can assign them to themselves, or if maybe you're an organization that has a scrum master or a product manager that's doing the assigning, they can do that as well. This is where that repository we talked about, it's going to reside inside those projects. That's where our merge requests are going to be done. You're going to see changes. You're going to have reviews and discussion done at that. So that collaboration piece is going to be done here, where I have visibility into the changes that you've made to code. I can comment on them. We can collaborate and say, hey, this looks good. This looks, this doesn't look good. What'd you do here? What I do here? And it gives us that tie-in around collaboration around all these code changes that we're making. We could see the pipeline passed or failed. We can also collaborate on that. Hey, this is what I saw in the code, this is why it failed, and if you want to change that. And then we have visibility again into the security part, the performance of those pipelines, and then you have a review app. You can see the changes and see how it looks on your application before it goes to production. Something else along the collaboration piece via email, via Slack, via What Matter Most. You can also collaborate using those tools and add issues to the backlogs. This is a very detailed view at GitLab Safe. You can see there's different, at the highest level, the portfolio group, that's a subgroup of the program. Agile teams that are following as another subgroup of those value streams. Each level has its own project where issues can be created, whether they're non-functional or functional. More once you get towards the team subgroups, this is where your projects are going to have more functional items that are being driven more along the functionality of the applications or the software that's being created. This is just another quick snapshot into the portfolio, looking at the value streams that could be associated with it. So now moving on, this is the end of the slides real quick. I hope I got through them pretty quickly here for you. And we're going to go ahead and jump into the demo and start looking at how you could structure your organization's agile planning or Scaled Agile Framework using GitLab. I'm going to go ahead and jump in here, and if there are any questions, feel free to ask at the end of this or put it in the comment section of YouTube, and we will be sure to respond as quickly as possible around any questions that you may have. So what we're doing here is we're taking a look at what's a mock organization or mock company we've created. It's a healthcare provider incorporated. This is a healthcare company that has different parts or different value streams in safe terminology that make up the organization. In this case, there may be a newer healthcare provider once you see some of the issues that are built around, but this is just for demo purposes. But healthcare provider, they are very experienced, or they are experienced in Agile. They are doing Scrum planning. They're doing Scrum. They're using the GitLab backlog to do their backlog management, and they've just started looking into Scaled Agile Framework or doing SAFe, and they are now structuring their organization around the Scaled Agile Framework. For this organization, when they're going towards SAFe, what they've done is you have business leaders that agreed at a high level what the strategic themes are for that organization. And those strategic themes for this this healthcare organization is patient satisfaction, revenue growth, staff satisfaction, and technology advancements. And they've done this using labels with GitLab. So when I'm creating my portfolio epics or I'm creating my value streams, when I'm creating my portfolio epics, I can tie that to a strategic theme. So if I were to go over and take a look at the epics that were created from those strategic themes at the portfolio level, I am going to be able to see that I've tagged using the strategic theme or using the specific strategic theme that's been assigned to them, that we came up with these 6 different portfolio epics at that portfolio level that we believe will drive our organization. What will happen is these portfolio epics can be taken and broken down into features or enablers, and then thus broken down more into issues from there. They could be part of PI planning, where we take those features, enablers, we break them down, like I just mentioned, into issues, and then we create PI objectives out of those. Now, again, this is just demo data, so we have only a few listed here, but if we were to look at a real organization, there'd be probably quite a few more portfolio epics. Going back and looking at the healthcare provider organization, instead of GitLab, we have groups and projects. That's how we structure. So this is at the highest group level. You could call this the parent group or the umbrella group, the highest level where the healthcare provider organization or enterprise sits. And then following underneath those is a subgroup. So you have 6 different subgroups in this particular case. These are what would be considered value streams for a Scaled Agile Framework. These were determined by the leadership that these are the value streams that are going to drive this organization. So we have primary care, online experience, specialists, laboratory, pharmacy, and hospital. The portfolio management piece, that's just a project that sits at that portfolio level, so I can create some issues at that portfolio level that may be specific to that portfolio management, possibly non-functional items or issues that need to be created. Diving a little bit more into one of the value streams here, so we dive into the hospital value stream. We can see that's made up of 6 different agile groups. These are groups that are contributing towards that agile release train. That's part of that value stream for that hospital value stream. These 6 groups or 6 agile teams all have scrum teams underneath them that are contributing or are working together to contribute towards that agile team that's part of that agile release train. And so we could look at billing here and see that we have several different scrum teams that we've put together around employee payroll, patient billing, vendor billing, and 501c3 billing. And these are all groups that are working together to build out that feature and capabilities around billing that are all going to combine together with the different ones that you see here: inbound, patient records, staff scheduling, and outbound. When we go into billing, I could take a look at the epics that are part of billing, and I could see that what we call epics at GitLab, or these would be considered sub-epics, because you've already seen those portfolio epics that sat at that healthcare provider parent level. These are sub-epics, interchangeable with the feature terminology or enablers for Scaled Agile Framework. But these are what we broke down from those portfolio epics. And so you can see here that some of them are broken down into specific insurance companies. There are specific features or sub-epics around billing statements and adding payment methods. And these is where you're going to have groups take a look at these features, these enablers, and they're going to go into their PI planning sessions. They're going to break these down. They're going to get them. They're going to get PI objectives out of these, which are going to be made up of issues or user stories, if that's the terminology you're using. Inside of GitLab, we go by issues, and so that will be part of that PI objective that is taken out of the PI planning sessions. And when those individuals that are associated or part of that PI planning session are taking a look at these features at the billing level. From here we can go over to issues, and this is where we'll see issues that were determined from that PI planning session. That's part of a specific PI objectives. We have a running list here of the issues that were created. I can go into the board view, and this is where I'm going to be able to see that there is a product backlog here, or a PI backlog that has been created with issues. I have the ability to do ranking, so I can drag and drop, and this will rank these issues as part of this board as a higher priority. If we went to a different board and wanted to see all the opens, it would retain that ranking system. We also have technical risks that have been assigned to these, so I do have a technical risk board that I could take a look at the high and medium low risk issues that have been determined, and this would populate those based off of which issues have which label associated with them. This has a filter on it now for sprint 1, so we don't actually see any yet until we do go assign issues to sprint 1. Sorry, that's the Scrum team board. I'll go back to PI objective. So that's where I can have a product owner or product manager or Scrum master. They start assigning the specific issues towards the sprints that they think are, towards that sprint that they believe it should be prioritized. In this case, we have a couple different issues that I want to put over to sprint 1. These were created organically from GitLab itself. Down here we can see we have a couple different issues that were created. One was via a service desk, so someone submitted a ticket with a service desk that's built into GitLab, and a couple others. One was done via maybe Slack or done via Mattermost, and those issues appeared on the backlog. So as I'm assigning these issues here, it's moving over to sprint 1. These are all the priority or the issues that I think are top priority for sprint 1. I now have that sprint backlog planned, and I can go over to my dev board and begin moving issues into progress and either assigning those to individuals if you're an organization that's doing, product manager, or a Scrum master that's doing the assigning of issues or user stories. That could be done, or if you have a self-organizing team doing Scrum, they can come in here and they can pick issues that they want to work on. So if I were to come in here, probably as a patient, I can view my billing statement. That's very important in order for someone to pay for that bill that they have. I'm going to assign this to myself, so I've assigned it to myself, and I move it to in progress, and now I'm working on that. Same could be done for a couple others. Maybe Dan came in here, he assigned this to himself, he moves that to in progress. Same thing for John Jeremiah. He now assigns that to himself and moves that to in progress. Built in is you have weights that you can associate with those issues. And so you can see here there's a couple different weights, 15 and 15, both for these issues that Dan and John have. I have 8 as part of my weight. 4, in terms of story points, maybe you're using a Fibonacci scale, or you have your own system built into your organization. You could do that using issues as part of, you could do that using weights as part of these issues. And then later on, we'll see that you could take out in a burn down chart where you are progressing with that issue weight and issues, and look at the anticipated projection for what you were looking to have done as part of that specific sprint or time box, whatever you may call it. So I'm working on this. I build out my code, write my code. As a patient, I can view a billing statement. I think it's good for review now. You may be able to, or your organization may use different terminology around what stages it should move in. Maybe there's an end testing. You can build that out using labels, and then edit these boards and organize these boards using those labels. For us, it's review. I move it to review. There's a close over here. Maybe my review, it needs to have a successful pipeline. It needs to pass, certain tests, certain quality tests, certain security tests, certain performance tests before it can be moved to closed. But in the meantime, we are an agile team, so I should hopefully get that feedback rather quickly. But I want to go ahead and just take another item or another issue off of that backlog that was assigned to sprint 1, assign that to myself, and then I can begin that work on that issue, and it moves in progress. The in progress tag is added there. So maybe as a Scrum Master or product manager, I want a high-level view of what's going on the team or who's working on what. I can come over here to this team board view. I can see what Dan's working on, what John's working on. I can see what Ty's working on. He has one in review. He has one in progress. That's good. He doesn't have two in progress. We'd rather have Ty working on one item in progress and not working on multiple. So that's in review, and hopefully that moves to closed. We can now look at that technical risk board. We could see that because I had a filter around sprint 1 and we did the assigning of these issues to sprint 1, I could see what is a high risk, what is a medium risk. We have no low risk in sprint 1. It just gives me a snapshot here based on that risk level that we've created via labels. So heading over to milestones here, this is where we at GitLab define our time box. In this particular case, I'm trying to look towards aligning towards the Scaled Agile Framework. So I've created 4 sprints and an innovation and planning sprint as my 5th sprint over a 2-week increment. So adding up to 10 total sprints as part of a PI objective that we're working on. And so you have the ability to change these names based on what your organization does and the time box that you're labeling those. But we do call these milestones at GitLab. That's the terminology that we use when you have that option available here on the left. I could pop into sprint 1. This is where I'm going to have visibility into a burn down chart. Because this is demo data and I've been moving stuff back and forth, it's going to have a little bit of a strange graph to it, line to it right now. You can see the issues that I've created, the issue weight that comes along with that. What I'm going to do though is I'm just going to cut over and we'll take an actual look into a real life burn down chart and board that our own dev team around Verify is doing. So we could see here the open and deliverable and close. That's the way that they go about doing Agile, is using those or that terminology. And I can go to the milestone here and see for the milestone of 11.7 what they've been doing. And this one just ended, but we could see that there's a certain amount of issues created. We could see with the issue weight and the burn down chart that they've gone along with that. A little bit of flatlining here. But the ability to use burn down charts inside of GitLab based around that sprint or the milestone that you create in GitLab. So coming back here to the board view inside of issues, just want to kind of show that you can maybe from the dev board, even though we've probably hopefully worked out what issues are part of this sprint backlog or what's part of this PI objective. Excuse me, and I can go ahead and just if for some reason I needed to add a new issue, I can do that in line here. Or if I needed to add an issue, I'd head over to the project within billing. So I'd find the different Scrum groups, probably inside of patient billing is what we're looking at. I could see that there's 2 projects here. Projects fall at any point could fall underneath a group. And the way that we've set it up, those projects, that's a container for where all the dev work's being done. This is showing that the billing statements and credit card payments, those are 2 different projects that the Scrum team around patient billing is working on. So I can go into billing statements here, get inside that project, take a look at the issues, go to the board, see what issues are associated here. I can add an issue from this area. I can add an issue here from the list view, and what it's going to do, it's going to take me over to the new issue creation page, and this is where I can add a test. I can give it a description. I can assign it to myself, or I can assign it to a certain member that's part of the team. Assign it to a milestone. You can see several different sprints here, and I can also give it a label. If it's associated with an agile release, multiple trains in progress, which you probably want to do unless you're moving that into progress on the board. But you can see the different tags that are associated with there. Give it a weight, and then also if you wanted to give it a due date, you can do that as well. Markdown and quick actions are supported inside of these, so If I click on a markdown, it takes me to a nice little GitLab help markdown area, but you can do markdown inside of this description. There's a lot of different options and choices available for doing markdown, just adding maybe an issue to an epic or associating two issues together just using markdown. That possibility is here. I'm not going to submit an issue in this particular case. So now we're here on the page of issues that are specific to the billing statements group. What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the next step, and us moving along that agile planning, us moving this issue that is maybe a problem or it's an enhancement request, something that we've created as an issue, and now we're going to have that dev team members begins working on it. They're going to create a merge request around this. They're going to check out a branch to work on from the master branch. And so what they're going to do is they're going to go in and they're going to create a merge request. We can see that I've already created a merge request as part of this issue. And they simply just create a merge request from that issue. Inside that issue, it's going to put the related merge request for that issue. I'm going to click into this one that I've already created. And it's going to show me a couple different things here that I get along once they've created this merge request. Now, I'm just going to give a quick high-level view of merge request and the DevOps pipeline. There's many demos that we've created that dive a little bit deeper into how this pipeline works, or maybe specific around the security or specific around performance, and those can be found on our YouTube channel. But I'm just going to give a quick view. As we started with agile planning, we've created those issues, we've assigned them. What we're doing now is we have that dev person working on the correcting the code or creating code. They've created that merge request, taking a branch off of master, and now in this particular case, the changes have already been pushed in this one. They've been pushed, sorry, not pushed, but these changes have been made, and now we're running a pipeline, and the pipeline is doing its checks on these different stages. So it just did the build and pass, and now it's doing a test. We can see the different stages that are correlated with that. We'll dive into this in a little bit more here in a second. Down here, we can go and actually see what changes were made. In this particular case, there's some text that was changed around the header there. This is a very, very, very simple demo. So once we go into this pipeline, we can now see laid out in front of us all the different checkpoints as part of these stages. I can see code quality, container scanning, dependency scanning, license management, static security testing, and then maybe just a unit or quality testing that we built in there. A review app will be built out, so we'll be able to see the changes that were made before we push that to the master branch. There's dynamic security that we have along with this, a performance stage, and then a cleanup at the end. So this pipeline is going to take a few minutes to run here as it's doing all of its checkpoints. Something that's going to happen, once that hopefully passes. If it fails, we'll have the ability to go in and see why it failed. It'll give us a failed pipeline area where we could see specifically what part of that pipeline failed, and we can address that from there. But if this does pass, and I'm hoping it does, it's going to give me that capability to merge into master branch. In this particular case, I have the capability or the rights to do that merge myself. If I needed approval, I could add, or that maintainer, someone could make sure that approval is required before it's merged into master. This, if it passes, I'll be able to resolve that work in progress, and that'll give me the capability to merge. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go over, we're going to check out an open merge request. Actually not an open. We're going to look at one that was just merged, and that is the one I did just a little bit ago. Updated the text color for the title page. We can see that the pipeline passed. It gives me a pass on all the stages. It gave me a security analysis. I get a view. I can view the full report of all the new vulnerabilities. Again, dive that deeper in a different demo. It gives me a full report on license management. This one showed who it was merged by. The changes were merged into master, and it gives me a quick snapshot of what was done around this merge request in this pipeline. I've already clicked merging it. You can see it's still working on deploying that to production right now. So it's going to again go and run that pipeline and push that to that master branch. It should give me the result of changing this title here to GitLab purple on top of this already purple background. If I wanted to see the changes that were made with this again, I could take a look here. I could see that there was a color change around the header from orange to purple. Not the best choice I made, but again, this is the most basic app that we can do just for demo purposes. So this demo basically has gone through. It started off with talking about agile planning. We've talked about how a company can use GitLab to do that agile planning, how they can start aligning to that Scaled Agile Framework structure. What we did here is we created issues. We did a lot of backlog management or PI objective planning. We did our sprint backlogs, our PI objective backlogs, and we assigned those to members on the team. They began working on those. They went inside these issues. They created merge requests around the code that they've either changed or added. And then we see via these pipelines that code's getting tested. It's getting security testing done around it. It's going to be performance tested. We're checking the licenses that are associated with that branch that's being committed. And we're seeing several different things as part of that DevOps pipeline. If you have any questions, please feel free, again, to go ahead and list them down in the YouTube channel. Comments there, and we'll get back to you. I appreciate you taking the time to take a look at GitLab and how you can apply this agile methodology or apply SAFe using the GitLab tool.